In today's video, we are going to uh, look at the positions which were being taken from the book Techniques of Positional Play. There are just a few positions. These are just very few positions. And I would personally suggest you people to purchase this book, as this book is very handy for under 2200 rated players. So um, the topic of this video is restricting your opponent bishops, and we have a position in front of us. And obviously, you see that black is threatening our pawn twice. And it is an easy example. I just want you people to give you an idea that how you can restrict your opponent's bishops. Again, move you are going to do is first move is obvious f3, but you have to calculate it. It is not an easy one. What is the drawback of this f3 move? Just pause the video and think. Although this is the most obvious move, but what is the drawback? It has the plus point that it is restricting this bishop f3 move is restricting this black's bishop on b7. But it is just weakening these dark squares. And black knight can enter over here in these dark squares by jumping like this, or anyway, this way. But here at present, because white has two bishops and white's second bishop is dark square bishop, which is controlling all these dark squares. So that's why white is better. The first move is obvious f3. And the second move, which was played in the game, this game was played between Capablanca and Vidmir in New York 1927. Capablanca was white. Vidmir went out for the move rook f8. Instead of this move, Kerekhin suggested that this knight d7 move was better instead. But computers does not agree with him. Kerekhin pointed out that after the move bishop e3, then rook fc8, the point of this whole maneuvering of this knight move to d7 is that now when white challenges this rook over here, black is going to play the move king f8 first, then he at some point he is going to play the move knight to c4. This was the point of Kerekhin. But instead, the best continuation in this position in rook fd8 is fe8, first protecting this pawn over here. This was the best continuation for black, because now after bishop e3, and the point is that now h5, first restricting the advance of this pawn. Now ac1, taking control of open file, but now the move is maneuvering, the bishop maneuvering. You are going to play the move bishop over here, and when the rook comes over here, rook ed1, you will play the move bishop e6. And this was the very dominant bishop over here of white, and you are going to exchange it after bishop into bishop and rook into bishop. And the position is good for white due to the control of white's rooks on open files. But in the game, black went out for the move rook f8. Now bishop e3, h6 by black, rook ad1 challenging the rook, bishop c6. The point of this bishop to c6 move is that it is controlling this square. But now this bishop is being challenged by the rook, rook ac1. And bishop has to move. And Vidmir played the move bishop e8, and that was a blunder. Do you see that why it was a blunder? Because now rook into d8, after rook into d8, now the move is first king f8, and the king is very fast enough to come over here protecting these squares, then these bishops can move freely, going to attack these pawns, and this rook can control the 7th rank. So this was a simple example. First, you let you people understand that how you can restrict the bishops. If your pawn is over here on e4, play the move f3. Put your pawns on your opponent bishop's squares. That is light squares. You have all put your pawns on white squares and light squares, and this is actually Capablanca's rule. I am going to discuss that in another video. So we skip to another position. And now this is difficult one. This is not an easy one. This game was played between Floor versus Makagonov in Baku. This was the first game match in 1942. And here it is black to move. I am going to flip the board. If you remember the idea, then you may know that you are going to play the moves e5 and f6, stopping this bishop diagonal. But you have to prepare them. And to do that, his first move, obvious one, is that e5, which Floor played in the game. Now knight fd3. Now it is hitting this pawn twice. So, how to continue? And the best move over here is, instead of playing this move, knight to e8, which is not a very good scare for knight, going to play the move knight to e5. Restricting the bishop over here from again this position, it is not an easy one that you immediately just goes for these types of moves. You have to calculate thoroughly, because after this move e5, you have to calculate that the knight is going to move to f3 and it is going to hit this pawn twice by the bishop and by the knight over here. And you have some idea in your mind that if he is attacking my pawn, then you should be attacking his pawn. And how you are going to do that? By playing the move knight e5. You would be attacking this pawn twice. And he would have to protect this pawn first. So that's why e5 in the game. Now knight at df3, knight e4. Now you are attacking this pawn over here on f2. And first he protects his pawn. This one, because his knight is also being threatened, and if this pawn falls, then whole king side defense will be shattered, because both of the queens are on the board. So Makagonov played the move knight d3. I'm going to show you that what happens if he plays the move knight into, sorry, e5, then you're going to take with the knight. Now that is, you are threatening the rook, you are threatening the check, the queen is controlling this slide square, you can't move to, and here black is completely winning. So that's why he protected the pawn first. Now remember what you are going to do. You are going to play the move f6, and now you see that this bishop is being blocked. So black played the move knight into bishop, knight d into c5. These knights are both protected. And here, what to do, how to continue. And the move for white was, the best move and which he played was queen b1. That queen was now doing nothing, because this whole pawn chain is restricting this bishop and queen over here. So he moved the queen to b1. Now a5 by black. He is going to play on the queen side now. Bishop a3, going for the knight, but now b4. Bishop has to move back, and now you see that this bishop is a liability for white. It has nowhere to go. It has just two squares to move to. Just due to this idea. And from over here in this position, you executed this idea of playing the move f6, e5. So I hope you have understood the concept. I'm going to get to another example to let you people understand. Here it is blacks to move, so I'm going to flip the board. Do you remember the idea? Yes. You have to restrict this Fanchito bishop. And how to do it? You're going to put the pawns on the bishop's square and get this bishop very less squares to move to. So, what is the move first? First move. This game was played between Gilgoric versus Smyslov, and Smyslov played the move f6 in Candidates Tournament 1959. The point of this whole f6 move is that you are going to play the move e5, then this bishop would be highly restricted. Gilgoric understood that Black's plan is to play the move e5, so he countered it by playing the move e4. You can't blindly play these moves if you have not calculated your opponent responses. Now, what is the threat? If you play the move e5, he has also an idea to restrict your bishop by playing the move a4, a5. This was the best continuation, whereas black went out for the move king f1. But now the best move was a4. You don't want this bishop to have no squares to move to. So you play the move a6. But still white plays the move a5. First rook into d1. Now d8, challenging the rook. Rook d8. Bishop into rook. Now, if you have seen these moves, you must understood that whose bishop is better. This bishop has these three squares to move to. Black's bishop has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares to move to. So that's why black's bishop is better over here. But in the game after e5, white went out for the move king f1 first, but now rook ac8, going for the open file. So rook into d8 check, white exchange the rooks. Now king f2. Now this king is controlling these rook entries. But do you see the little tactic in the game? It is black to play and get winning advantage. It's just little tactic. This knight is controlling this square and this square. But it is this square is not considered well. This square. Have you seen the tactic? The simple one. Knight into f2. King s to 2. Now rook d6. Now you are going after this knight. And this knight has to move. So knight c5. First bishop into c5. B into c5. Now rook check. King moves and rook into b2. And in the long run, black Smyslov was able to win this game. Now, once again, we come over here. Remember the idea? f6. And white tried to counter it by playing the move g4. But now, still e5. Now, your bishop was, white's bishop was out of squares. So, why to play passively by playing the move king f1? Instead of, why not go for your opponent's bishop? Here he went out. If he had went out for this bishop, it was a better move. So you got the idea. And now we have reached our last position, and it is a tough one. It's not an easy one. Here you have to think a lot. Obviously, the idea is this one, that you are going to play the move e4, restricting black's bishop. But you should have seen black replies also. What happens if you play this move e4? Then what would be the black's reply? The black's reply might be first knight g6, then knight e5, and coming over here, bringing his knight to f4. You would be giving this scare to this knight. Sorry, yes, this knight on f6. You have played is still the same, but you must have calculated also. And when the game was played was e4. Rook f8, challenging the queen, queen to e1. This game was played between Petrosian versus Spassky, and Petrosian was white and Spassky was black in 10th World Championship game 1969. Now queen c5 check was immediately played. But here, Smyslow's suggestion was playing the move knight fd7, bringing the knight over here to active scare on c5. This was Smyslow's suggestion. But best continuation might be knight to d3 immediately over here. Have you seen that move when you played this move e4? So now you have to take rook to bishop. Now you activate your bishop and black just plays the move h6. And the position is unclear. But you have restricted black's bishop over here. In the game, he went out straightforwardly, queen c5 check and queen to f2, asking black to exchange the queens. Do you think it is better? No, it is not better, because white species are very much active. That's why exchanging the queens was not better. Queen to e7 was played in the game. But why this queen to e7 was a little bit mistake? Have you calculated that? Pause and think. Why queen e7 is a mistake? Instead, queen f8 was the best move. Do you see that why? Because you have to play this move as a black. And when your rook would be over here, at some times you will going to bring your queen over here. Then again, your queen together, sorry, queen f8. Let me show you that how queen f8. White develops the bishop. Now knight d3, challenging the queen. So bishop into d3, rook into bishop, rook ft1, challenging the rook. Rook into d1 check, rook d8. Now rook d8 again. And here rook a1, rook 8. Now queen d8 first. But first the house for the king escape route. And now bishop f4. The point of that black's queen does not come on this square. And now black goes for the move a6. After b into a6, now rook into a6, rook into a6, bishop into a6. Now this queen has this scare. But instead of this version, for example, black does not play these moves. He move queen to d2. He goes for a move queen to e2. This pawn is threatened. Or now you bring your queen to centralize. This is one. And after rook into bishop, rook comes over here. Now, if you challenge the rook, rook into d3, rook into d3. Now rook into a7, queen b8 first challenging the rook. After bishop into b6, now knight d7. Bishop has to go back. Now knight e5. Rook goes back to city, for example, controlling this square. Now queen d8. So in the game he went out for the move queen e7, but now rook a3. You have restricted this bishop of black, but you must have seen thus at least 3 to 4 moves above. And here black played the move knight e8, and that was a obvious move. Do you remember the idea? Knight h6, h5, sorry. Bishop e3. Now black can counter this pawn. Rook f a1, going for this pawn. But now f into e4. And e4. And this way he has broke your pawn chain. So you must have seen these types of calculations in your mind. e8 was played by Spassky in the game, but now bishop f4, knight g6, threatening the bishop, bishop e3. Now knight d6, rook fa1, knight c8. And it seems that black has taken control of everything, but in the long run he just lost. But the point of whole the game over here was that this bishop is restricted. And you have learned the method that how you can restrict this bishop, the wing bishop. So this is the end of the video. In the one of the next videos, I would let you know the Capablanca's rule. That rule is that you are going to place all the pawns on bishops, color bishop. But that rule is not 100% that you are going to apply, but it was a very reliable. And I'm going to show you that where you can apply that rule and where you can't apply that rule. So if you like my video, kindly subscribe and hit the bell icon button. Thank you very much.